Hey everybody, just another quick video about the Expedition 2.0 and some of the things that I forgot to mention on the last video. I didn't get a chance to take it out over Memorial Weekend. I had a few things I had to take care of domestically, so I didn't get a chance to go out camping in it, but I still wanted to be able to leave everybody a video. So a couple things I wanted to talk about. One, I know in the last video I mentioned the Kelty blockhouse. I went ahead and picked one of those up after using a friend of mine's. Really, you know, it's kind of considered an executive shower, as we like to call it. Apparently from REI, these things are discontinued. So you can, if they still have them, you can pick them up pretty cheap. I think I paid like $72 for mine, which normally these types of shower things are $200 to $250. So that's actually a really good price. So I went ahead and got mine, got it delivered last week, got it all set up, tested it out, put permethrin all over it to keep the bugs off, and look forward to using this one out in the field, at least until I can get my shower enclosure. We're well over a month since I received my trailer and I still don't have the shower enclosure. So I know 23-0's got some shortages, but I'm hoping I'm not gonna have to wait 6 months to get my enclosure. So we'll see. The other thing I wanted to mention was the water. So when I was camping with friends last weekend or the weekend before, we were talking about trailers and the options that are out there, and I think I mentioned this in my first video of the walkthrough. There's tons of different manufacturers that make trailers like this. Some are made out of wood, some are fiberglass, some are metal. You know, it really just depends on your preference when it comes to weight and, you know, insulation and you know, just rugged construction versus something that's going to be a little bit easier to tow. And one of the things we were talking about was the water capacity. And as somebody that's actually, I do have an RV as well. I have a 28-foot RV, and it holds about 35 gallons of fresh water. And it can't be understated how important water is when you're in the field. And just to give you an example of how long that type of water lasts, if you're not familiar with how to, you know, RVs or capacity from a water perspective, it is important to have a lot of water on board if you can. Some of these types of trailers, not Expeditions, but other manufacturers, they might have 7 to 17 gallons of fresh water on board. This one has 31 gallons. And to give you an idea how long that lasts, at the last trip I took, we had 5 people with us, and every single one of them took a shower. It was for a 3-day adventure, and everybody took a shower at least once a day. And we were doing dishes probably 2 times a day, once for breakfast and once for dinner. Now, I know I could conserve water by bringing out paper plates and things like that, but the reality is I wanted to test this thing out. I wanted to see just how long I could last in the field without changing anything, meaning that I'm not actually going out and trying to conserve water, trying to conserve power. I mean, ideally, this is designed to be an ease of use unit, right? The idea is you shouldn't have to skimp. You should be able to enjoy camping out in the field, you know, a little bit with luxury, and just have the ability not to have to worry about anything. So with 5 people, again, showering once a day, doing dishes twice a day, we got this thing to last almost 3 days. So I got it 2.5 days. On the 3rd day, I went ahead and topped it off with, well, I wouldn't say top it off. I actually added another 5 gallons of water into the tank, just so I would have a little bit more water to go ahead and do dishes and stuff like that, just to wrap it up. So gives you an idea. If you had 17 gallons, man, you couldn't even last 2 days. You couldn't last a day with 5 people using the trailer. So it's important to have as much water on board as possible. So when I talk about what to look for when it comes to buying a trailer, water capacity should be one of those priorities. So again, this has 31 gallons. I think it's actually the one with the most. I think the next nearest one I saw was like 21 gallons. So it just gives you an idea how long you can stay out with water on board. And with 31 gallons, that allows you to stay out for, again, with 5 people, 2.5 days without having to top it off or tank it up. Now, I will say, when it came to tanking it up, it actually sucked. And I knew it would, because when you're in the field, one of the challenges that you have with a trailer like this is the way the water gets put into it. As I mentioned on my very first video, some of the other manufacturers, like Boma, for example, which is made by Bushwhacker, they have a big mouth port on the fender that allows you to put water in it from a 5-gallon can without having to worry about needing any kind of a funnel or a hose or anything like that. This, on the other hand, uses a standard RV port. So if you don't have a hose, it can be pretty painful to fill it up in the field. And I knew that was going to be the case. So what I did is I brought a little hose that I actually use for the tray for the shower, and I was able to thread it to my 5-gallon Scepter water tank and just tilt the tank upside down, and it was able to put the water in fairly easily. I mean, it was a bit of a pain to have to hold the stupid thing up that whole time, but it did work. So I've got to find a more easier way to do that. Maybe just build a mount or something where you can actually mount a 5-gallon can upside down and put the hose in and just go that route. Anyway, it was a good field test, so that's something to be aware of if you have to fill it up in the field, that you might end up being challenged if you don't bring a hose or a huge funnel to be able to put the water in. The second thing that was interesting about this is that this aeration port, so this actually allows the pressure to push out while you're putting water in, and it's a nice little feature because that way you can get your tank to capacity. The problem with that is, as I saw it, is if you have water on board and you go off-road with this thing and you have any kind of articulation, you're going to actually see water coming out of that port. Now, I don't know how much water I lost in transit, but I could tell by looking in the rearview mirror that when the trailer would articulate like this, it would actually splash water out of that, you know, just kind of squirt it out to the side. So I don't think I lost a whole lot of water from that, but it is still loss. It's still something that you got to be aware of if you're taking this onto an aggressive trail. So flat wise, you don't want to have any problems, but as soon as you start articulating, you'll start to see that. So just a few additional tips and tricks to have you, to kind of help you out. The last thing I want to talk about is probably the grossest thing to talk about. Obviously, having a shower is great, right? You have privacy, you get the ability to shower in peace, so to speak, without having to worry about any kind of embarrassment. But there's the thing nobody likes to talk about, and that is, what do you do when you want to use a toilet in the field? And I will say that this thing is money. Porta Potty 365. So this thing is it's in 2 pieces now because that's how I have it stored, but the top goes on, onto it, and it's clean. It doesn't have any kind of odor. Now, it has a slight odor if you leave it out in the summer, but it's got a really decent capacity bottom tank. Put a little bit of water in the top tank. They have a version of step up from this, but it's electric, and if you're in the field, electric's the last thing you want to have. You don't want to have one more thing that takes batteries. So this one's actually pump actuated. You just pump it to put water in the bowl, you do your business, you pull out this here, and when you do, everything goes down in the tube. So keeps it nice and contained, and you put a little digestive pack in it, so by the time you get it home, it's liquefied everything that's in it. So that's that's money right there. That's actually changed the game. It's better than pooping in a bucket, which is what I did for the first year I was tent camping. This makes it so much easier. And weirdly enough, you would think when you put those things together that, oh, that's smaller than a regular toilet. It's not. I actually measured it when I first got it. The same height on that is exactly the same height as a standard toilet in your house. So you're not having to squat down. It's actually the same exact height, which is a nice little feature, right? You wouldn't expect that's 16 inches off the ground, which is kind of nice. So anyway, that's the one thing people don't like to talk about because it is the grossest part of camping, but I think it's worth mentioning. So if you're interested in, hey, what do we do from a toilet perspective, you might consider that. I've been using this now for about 7 months and had really good results with it. And like I said, it's toilet safe. So the digestive pack that you put in it to dissolve all the goo that's inside, by the time you get home, you're shaking it up and everything like that. You can actually dump that thing in your standard toilet to flush it down. It's pretty gross. I'd like to say that I wish I didn't have to do that, but it's better than the alternative. Like I said, pooping in a bag and then having to bury the bag. So this is a much better way to go. So anyway, just a few tips. If you guys are interested in this Kelty and you want me to set it up and maybe do a demo of that, I will. I showed it off in the last video, what it looks like when it's already deployed with the mats and everything inside of it. This is a really nice setup. It's got a clip-on base, so you're not standing on the ground. It's well ventilated, lots of pockets. You can hang a little lantern from the inside so that you can light your way while you're showering at night. If you have the opportunity to find one of these, like I said, REI has them. They are discontinued as far as they're concerned, which means that they're way discounted. So I don't know how many of those they're going to have left, but if you bought a trailer like this or you have one that doesn't have a shower enclosure, I highly recommend the Kelty. It's a rigid setup, won't blow over in the wind, and it's pretty reliable. You wouldn't want to backpack with this. This thing is pretty heavy, but for something like this, if you're in a static location where you're just camping out at a site for a few days, it's a perfect setup. It's a great little change room and like I said, shower and toilet area. So hopefully this video has been helpful. I'll keep pumping these things out. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm kind of running out of stuff to talk about. Like I said, I'm doing a little bit of a tips and tricks, but I'm starting to run out of those. So if there's something specific about this trailer you want to see, or something you want me to talk about as far as experiences are concerned, I'm happy to share. Like I said, whatever I can do to inform people before you make a purchase on one of these devices or one of these units. Like I said, when I bought it, it was about a 6-month wait. So if you're on the fence about getting one, when you do finally pull the trigger, expect it to take 6 to 8 months at best, right? So you're looking at next year at this point before you'll actually receive one of these, or late winter. So if you're on the fence, the sooner you get your order in, the sooner you'll get it. But like I said, it's about a 6-month wait on getting these units. All right, thanks everyone. I appreciate all the subscriptions. Let me know if there's anything else I can do, or any questions that I can answer for you. Thanks.